Jeffrey Epstein's former girlfriend and longtime accomplice, Ghislaine Maxwell, was called to testify before the House Oversight Committee on Monday, just less than 4 years into a 20-year sentence for her role in the disgraced financier's alleged sex crimes.
But the committee didn't get much out of Maxwell at all. She refused to answer any questions from the panel, invoking her Fifth Amendment right to avoid self-incrimination. That move was not surprising at all. Maxwell indicated she would plead the Fifth prior to the hearing. In a letter to the committee explaining her decision, Maxwell's lawyers wrote she must remain silent because Ms. Maxwell has a habeas petition currently pending that demonstrates her conviction rests on a fundamentally unfair trial. He continued, if this committee and the American public truly want to hear the unfiltered truth about what happened, there's a straightforward path. Ms. Maxwell is prepared to speak fully and honestly if granted clemency by President Trump. Only she can provide the complete account. Some may not like what they hear, but the truth matters. For example, both President Trump and President Clinton are innocent of any wrongdoing. Ms. Maxwell alone can explain why, and the public is entitled to that explanation.
Now, Democrats on the panel condemned her plea for clemency. Virginia Representative Suhas Subramanyam placing the blame on President Trump, saying she is campaigning over and over again to get that pardon from President Trump, and this president has not ruled it out. And so that is why she's continuing not to cooperate with our investigation. And Congressman Khanna pointing out the inconsistency in Maxwell's willingness to testify.
She's taken a blanket Fifth Amendment on any question. And my view is that many of my questions don't in any way incriminate her. The American people will see that there's an inconsistency. Why did she not plead the Fifth when Blanche asked her questions? And now she's pleading the Fifth about things that don't implicate her, but may implicate many of the other powerful people in the Epstein class that committed these crimes.
Meantime, the DOJ opened up the unredacted files related to Epstein to members of Congress yesterday, and some members are already sounding the alarm. Congressman Jamie Raskin telling reporters after his review that the DOJ improperly redacted the public versions of the files. Take a listen.
There are hundreds and hundreds of pages in the Epstein files that were recently released where identifying information about victims is right there. Conversely, we didn't want to see any redactions of the names of co-conspirators, yet nonetheless the Epstein file documents that were released are filled with redactions.
The two congressmen who wrote the Epstein Files Transparency Act, Thomas Massie and Khanna, they had some revelations of their own. Let's listen.
What I saw that bothered me were the names of at least 6 men that have been redacted that are likely incriminated by their inclusion in these files.
There are 6 men, some of them with their photographs, that have been redacted, and there's no explanation why those people were redacted.
They also said some of the files were still redacted because that's how the DOJ received them. As for the names of those 6 people, Massie and Khanna said they don't intend to release them themselves.
I would like to give the DOJ a chance to say they made a mistake and over-redacted and let them unredact those men's names. That would probably be the best way to do it.
All right, lots to get into here. I guess let's start with Maxwell and then circle back to that part of it. It's not surprising she's pleading the Fifth. She's going to plead the Fifth on everything. She wants a clemency deal or some kind of arrangement. And frankly, I don't think that would be a great idea because she could lie, she could exaggerate, she'll say anything to get out of the situation she's in, so why would we automatically trust that? She is the one next to Epstein who is most obviously guilty from the information we have, so I'm not sure why we would let out a guilty person in order to maybe entrap maybe someone who possibly did something wrong, but we have to take her word for it. That doesn't sound good to me. Now, I agree with her that there's not a shred of evidence to incriminate the Clintons or Donald Trump, so she's not lying about that. I agree, there's no evidence, but I don't really see the point, frankly, in questioning her further, unless in these files we do see more than just a hint that a bigger fish did something sexually wrong with young people, not just associating with Epstein when it was not smart to do so, but like actually sexually assaulted kids. and it's really bad, and it's worth trading Maxwell's freedom to get that person, that seems not likely to me, but I'll leave the door open to that possibility, but I certainly don't see it yet. Right?
I think the back and forth with Oversight Committee Chair James Comer saying a month ago that he wasn't interested in talking to Maxwell, and then bringing her forth yesterday, knowing that she was going to plead the fifth, knowing that she's a known perjurer, to me was just very performative and silly, knowing that she wasn't going to give any information anyway. Yeah. I think that because she spoke to Todd Blanche last July and had a full conversation with him that was closed to the public, so we don't really ever know what happened. And then we saw her get moved to a minimum security prison in Texas, which made a lot of people uncomfortable, because why are we accompanying somebody who has been convicted of these egregious charges? Is concerning. And now that she's publicly and very boldly calling for clemency when she needs to just sit in jail for what she's been accused and convicted of, is problematic to me that conversation is even still ongoing. And the president has not fully dismissed it. What Khanna was talking about is the fact that he wants to ask her real questions. He talked about, and he maybe this number moved to 6, but in a message that he put on X, he was saying there's 4 people that he specifically wanted to ask her about. And how are these 4 people going to implicate her? No one said it has to be the president. No one said it has to be Bill Clinton. Like I said, if they're involved, if they're not, that doesn't bother me. But if there's 4 people that they're looking at as co-conspirators and they don't want to release the names, they're trying to let a process be respectful through the branches of government as it should be, and let the DOJ release the information. They don't need to go nuclear. We talked about this yesterday.
I'm all done with that.
But they don't have. They don't have to go.
Tell us the names.
I know, but they're trying to go do their jobs and not act like childish. They're saying the DOJ could have made a mistake here. We're giving you space to do it, and they've already suggested on air that they're willing to just release the names if the DOJ doesn't want to.
Do it now.
They have the opportunity, but obviously now that the files are...
How about now?
Well,
this afternoon.
They requested for the files to not be redacted. They got what they requested. So I
requested them to put up or shut up. I want to know the names now.
They can, but I think that now that they have gotten the files how they want them to, if the DOJ is not willing to speak up, then they should. Yeah, because they've been teasing that they're going to speak up. They've spent a lot of their political career for the last year fighting for these Epstein files to be transparent and fully released. And so people would like to see, because if the victims are scared to speak for some reason, they would like to see them speak. You now have the information, say it out loud. And so that's what I think they should do.
Let's hear it. I'm all ears. I'm waiting. But what I suspect is going to happen is it won't be as compelling as we're led to believe. I mean, Jamie Raskin, for instance, he said something about how he saw a new document that there was evidence that a 9-year-old had been abused, which is a very scandalous accusation. That'd be the youngest victim we know of. Again, it's a 15 to 17 range. We've already seen that email. That email was made public. It was a formatting error. It references a 19-year-old, not a 9-year-old. So the fact that he made that mistake, even though it's already been corrected on social media, shows me he's not paying enough attention to this. And we need people to keep their eye on the ball here, because that one already got dealt with. So that's all you got. That's not anything. So
the ball is
I'm
really
waiting.
in Congress court at this point. So
I'm waiting.
We'll see.
I'm waiting.
You shouldn't be such a skeptic when there's victims involved here, though. We want to make sure that we have all the information.
Tell me.
And people say
Tell
the
me.
information.
Not skeptical. Tell me. Say the names. Just say them. Then we'll get going.
The 84-year-old Nancy Guthrie's alleged ransom deadline that was set for Monday evening has now passed. We'll tell you more next. Don't go anywhere.